the general overview. I'm going to get into a little bit of details and some of the numbers on what we're seeing in the budget. So the proposed budget that you have available to deliberate over the coming months is based on an overall tax increase to existing taxpayers of 3.25%. That equates to $75.86 to the average taxpayer. This is about $625,000. So how this breaks down is 1.66% for core operations. So that's the baseline budget, the impact. Then when we add the additional for capital funding and increasing the infrastructure funding, that adds another $20 or 0.87%. We have 0.58% increase for resource requests to be considered by council, and also the Victoria Greater Public Library, their preliminary budget is an additional $3.26 or 0.14% as well. So that's the breakdown of where we get to 3.25. This is sort of further explanation on where the increases are coming from. So we see that our general municipal core operating increase of just over $2 million equates to 2% of a tax increase. Police service core increase of $920,000 provides 0.186, and then the new tax revenue that we got from new tax-paying properties within the district, providing $1.3 million to give us that core net increase to existing taxpayers of 1.66%. Then we look at the sort of those additional things that we're adding on. The additional increase for capital infrastructure to increase that program to hit sustainability levels by 2019, which we're still on target for. That adds net taxation of $932,900, and then we have again those resource requests that council will be considering are equivalent to $621,000 or 0.58 in the library. So this is the consolidated budget, so there's a variety of things that are presented within the document. The consolidated budget is all in, as water, sewer, garbage, all of the regular municipal operations. So we see the increase for 2016 of property taxes at $76, we've just been discussing. The sewer and water increases were approved by council in 2015 with the rates and as well as the refuse collection. So we can see both water and refuse, the increases are relatively small this year, now that water has reached that sustainability and we're not adding the additional money for capital. We can see that it's a $5 increase as opposed to the double-digit increases, double-digit dollar increases we were seeing in previous years. As we know that we don't expect the sewer to be coming down in the short term, but we can see that water has dropped. This is provided more so people are, when they're looking at the presentation, can go in and look at these detailed numbers. It's obviously a bit small to see here, but this PowerPoint will be up on the website for people to look at, so this just provides the historical view. The overview is the overall increase for 2016 is 4.47%, which is less than the average for the last 10-year period, is one of the lower numbers. And then I won't go into the details, but it shows the new tax at 1.22% is back to 2012-2013 levels and up over the significant dip we saw in 2015. So just wanted to talk a little bit about the additional capital funding and paint a clear picture. The way that we increase our capital funding is through the core capital, and that's a 2% increase to property tax funded capital projects. That equals about $200,000 for 2016. The additional infrastructure replacement, equivalent to 0.75, is about $800,000. However, this year that's not all coming from taxation. We have the Fortis revenue that's helping support that. And also our debt servicing, the policy that restricts debt servicing to 7% of the prior year's property tax level. We see a small increase there for the debt servicing. So we're putting $1.2 million additional into the capital program this year. So a good chunk, as we say, because some of it is offset by the alternative revenue source from Fortis, the impact to the taxpayer is not as significant. The resource requests, again, are put in this presentation so that the public looking at it can see what's on the list. These will be considered at the February 23rd meeting, so I won't go into detail with them here, but we have some from police, there are some municipal staffing requests, and then some general operating increases that council will be deliberating on later in the budget process. So that's the overview. As previously stated, the department directors will be presenting their individual budgets, and that will be the opportunity for council to ask questions, and then we'll be again going into detail into the resource requests at the next meeting. So with that, we have arrived at GHG time. And I'll pass it over to Mark to run us through that.
Sure.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. And on page 17 of the draft financial plan, you'll see a departmental breakdown of GHG emissions. In 2008, we started monitoring energy and emissions of our municipal buildings and fleet. And in 2015, in the inventory, we observed a correction in the increase in emissions that we experienced last year. And it's an overall reduction of 73 tons of greenhouse gas this year from 2014. Reductions in energy consumption in buildings made an impact in all departments. I've provided an addition to the graph that you see on the screen to the graph that you have in your booklet. And you'll see includes expected benefits for upcoming projects, which I'm going to go over a few of those. So for municipal operations in 2015, to give you a summary of the two of the primary energy sources for us is the natural gas consumption from FortisBC, and that was about $483,000 in 2015 of natural gas costs. And there is a significant rate reduction in 2015, it's 22%. We also had a reduction in consumption as well of 3.6%, or 75 tons of greenhouse gas, and costs were reduced overall by 26%, $169,000, but primarily because of the rate reduction. For hydroelectricity, it was about $1.9 million in 2015. Rates, as everybody knows, BC Hydro is increasing, increased significantly in 2014, 9%. And in 2015, they increased 6%. But we were successful in reducing our consumption through several projects to reduce our consumption of kilowatt hours by 4.5%, which in the end saved us $112,000. So overall, our costs increased for BC Hydro by 2%, or $45,000. Some highlights from 2015, as well as the compost pickup. Program is in its first full year. And now have, although we had some fuel increases again, because we had last year noticed we had a bump in our greenhouse gas emissions because of the increased service from the composting service. But the balance that comes out in that is that we've reduced our overall community carbon footprint significantly. So we picked up more than 8,000 tons of compost diverted from the landfill, and that actually now exceeds the amount of waste that's going to the landfill. So it's about 2,000 tons of greenhouse gas. And then electric vehicles, we purchased 4 new EVs in the fall, which will be coming in March of this year. And that was through a joint purchase with the City of Victoria, and other municipalities as well participated in that to get the optimum price. So we'll be at 9 vehicles in total, 6 here at the hall, 2 at Parks, and 1 at the police department. And we also upgraded in the late part of 2015 the safety building boiler. The Perks ice plant was upgraded. It's a significant energy savings there that we just started to see the benefits of in 2015, and we'll be seeing that in 2016, up to $35,000 a year we're looking for. And because of these energy savings, we're also recognized by BC Hydro as one of the top 3 energy manager programs for a municipality. So since 2014, the many different projects we've done with LED lights at the Perks ice rinks, LED lights at Sandwich Commonwealth Place, at the pool, and these other projects we've completed in 2015, it's 750,000 kilowatt hours, or 3.75% of our total energy consumption. And looking forward into 2016, the Gordon Head boiler replacement project is beginning to move forward now, and will be completed in June. And We're also looking right now at the municipal hall boiler and also the lighting upgrades for the municipal hall, which have potential of additional 75 tons of greenhouse gas. LED street lighting through the engineering department is leading this project, and we've been supporting it from the sustainability side to pilot and test different LED lights in a few locations. And we're going to be moving forward now with a budget that's been approved by council to install 1,000 lights in 2016. And there's an opportunity there to take advantage of BC Hydro rebates right now. It's an important project as well because hydro-related costs to street lighting increased by 33% in 2015. So the time is right for us to move quickly on LED replacements. Sandwich Commonwealth Place is, although we've done LED lighting work there, there's a detailed boiler replacement assessment that's needed there. We had an issue last year where the Sandwich Commonwealth Place boilers were having some issues with increased natural gas consumption, which spiked our carbon footprint. We've been working with the staff there at SCP, and we've got a lot of those issues. Although there were some issues in early 2015, the last 6 months we've actually leveled those out. But we need to look at the whole system and see if there's an opportunity there to improve energy consumption and also reduce the carbon footprint. And lastly, 100% renewable energy project. We're going to be assessing our municipal buildings as part of our strategic plan action item, is to look at the feasibility of where 100% renewable energy could fit into Sandwich's buildings. We're looking at that long term. Just because of the long list of different types of projects we've moved forward on, it opens up the door to the conversation of reviewing what 100% renewable energy might look like. So we're just going to be assessing the feasibility of that in 2016 and then reporting the findings back at the end of the year. So I'd be happy to take any questions you may have. Thanks very much.
Councillor Dermott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Mark, we seem to be recovering our direction in terms of corporate emissions. A little ways to go. Certainly, the advent of LED streetlights should be a very considerable help to that. What are our plans at the current time for moving aggressively on the total community carbon footprint? Our own corporate is actually a small part of that. Have we formulated a particular process of attack for that? Have we set goals that we are trying to get the broader community level down to a certain level by whatever time?
Yes, Councillor Dermott, through the mayor. It's through the climate action plan. I mean, it's a multiple departmental project, first of all. So engineering is heavily involved when it comes to the implementation of bike lanes and sidewalks, and that's a key part of the transportation piece. For our part of things within our sustainability group, we're developing a retrofit strategy, which was part of the strategic plan. For us, with the rate of growth in Saanich is relatively low, retrofits is a big priority for us. The majority of our buildings that we have in Saanich are still going to be here in 2050. So we think it's something that we're really going to focus on. So we're actually developing, working with Hydro right now and getting some funding agreements sorted out for providing some additional retrofit incentives. There's certain limitation to what we can do. We're trying to encourage reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. We've had a lot of success on the heating oil side of things, so we've had a big increase over the last 2 years. Fire department permit records show that heating oil tanks have greatly increased number have been removed from the ground and from people's properties. So that's almost tripled over the last few years, which is a big carbon footprint. So this is primarily what we're focusing on as part of our carbon footprint. And then this is generally, I think, be low-hanging fruit, a lot of this. There's a lot of things that we need to do to bring up we want to have a lot of forward-looking conversations, and that's part of the 100% renewable. But we have a lot of the low-hanging fruit issues, I call it, to resolve first.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Plant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Boyson, for your presentation. I just want to go back to that drawing you had, or the illustration, the graphic, regarding the decrease. And I know you said you've added stuff to it, but it doesn't seem to me that we're going to get there in the timeline we have. Are you confident we will, or is there a set of strategies that we as a municipality, even though I appreciate what Councillor Dermott said about the district's residents, but as a municipality that we can do to meet this target?
Thank you, Councillor Plant, and through the mayor. I'm committed to doing it. I think I'm confident that we can do it. I think there's a lot of opportunities still remaining, like at Saanich Commonwealth Place and with our vehicle fleet, to bridge that gap that you see there. We're also being very conservative with those committed projects as well. So we think that, personally, I think that actually we can achieve even more than that, and that line can be closer to the trend line. It's hard to say. I mean, based on the projects that we have right now, we're still at the top of that curve there with the current market. So we have 5 years. Over the next few years, I think, with the resources that we have, particularly in engineering, we have a former energy manager now as our facilities manager, who's really looking for all the opportunities to identify greenhouse gas and energy saving options. I think we have a lot of opportunities. I think just having an energy manager position in place, and I think all the resources put around, we're ready to strike when the opportunities come as well. I think that's an important part of this. It's hard to just make it happen quickly. So I hope we can get there, and I think we've got a good chance of doing it.
Councillor Workman.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I guess I've always felt we could do it as a government, as a municipality, to vote on the effort, and where it becomes a different story for the residents in the community. And you made the comment, I think we can do it. Are you saying that you think we can do it if it makes economic sense? Or are you saying we can do it because, for the environment's sake, it'll just pay us to do it? There is quite a difference.
Thank you.
What are you saying?
Councillor Verdun, yeah. Through the mayor, that's actually what I'm saying. I mean, that's really what, all of our projects go through a very thorough vetting process where, and so when I came to council and talked about last year getting the Green Municipal Fund for the boiler replacement project, we did very detailed analysis financially, the payback, and didn't have to find any new funds for that particular project. But yeah, the reason why that it's unsure is that we are very cautious about what's the right type of project and being responsible with dollars so that we actually get the energy savings and the benefit to Saanich residents overall, and not just for taking down one line.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Haynes.
Through the Mayor, Mark, thank you very much for this report. As you look at Saanich, can you reflect on how our neighbouring municipalities are doing and how we're stacking up against them? Are they dealing with the same issues? I do recall last year you had a little bit of data around that. How's that looking this year?
Through the mayor, I actually don't have any data for this year to really compare. And I'm also very cautious about doing that. We sort of do see it still, even though we're focusing on Saanich, that we're trying to move ourselves all together as a region, and we share a lot of information. I think the commitment that council has made and the role of the carbon fund and the actions, I think the consistent support that Saanich has provided has raised us a little bit ahead of the other municipalities, but there's other things that they're doing as well. So, but there's not really a comparison versus sort of, I'd say our target, for example, for 50% by 2020 is one of the most aggressive I've seen in Canada. I haven't seen any targets set like that before. So,
So on that target, the issue was raised, are we going to reach that? Do we have an aggregate target for the region, for the 13 municipalities?
Through the mayor, we don't have one right now. So as a corporate target, other
It means
municipalities.
the 13 municipalities may each have their own target of X%. If we were to get those numbers and divide them by 13, we'd have a mean target, and just to see where we're placed on that.
Correct. My understanding is that, but I think not every municipality has a corporate target right now, and report on it as regularly as we do as well.
Thank you.
Councillor German.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Without question, the question of economic viability has to go into all the decisions you make. I'm just wondering if in the decisions we make, we consider the economic cost of adaptation if climate change is allowed to continue. Now, that isn't entirely, of course, within our control, We are, last time I looked, we're part of the GO, and we are part of that issue. But certainly, there is the issue of what is the cost of not doing things. Is that something that we pay attention to?
As Councillor Derwin, through the mayor, our adaptation strategy, we identified and highlighted a lot of those concerns. Comparing apples to apples in terms of dollar values and balancing of the costs, that's very tricky to do and difficult to do, and a difficult conversation as well. So, yeah, that's. But we do. It's a reason why we're doing it and being fairly aggressive, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Mark, I have a quick one. When it comes to street lighting, I think I remember sometime, and I might have this wrong, that Hydro provides us a discounted rate for street lights because of the energy consumption. Is that the case? And does it apply to LED lighting?
Mr. Mayor, there's, my understanding is that we get a slight reduction, but I think the increases that have been coming over the years have sort of negated that. And so we're seeing the streetlight consumption, like the $33,000 increase this year in energy costs related to streetlights. I think that benefit has sort of disappeared. Originally there was years ago, but I don't think that's there anymore.
Have we kind of measured it over the life cycle as we replace the old lights with LEDs? Does the Hydro rate go back up to the regular level for that? And is there an overall savings?
Yes, so there's so the energy consumption per light will drop, and so then and actually the street lights aren't a metered system, so they're just based on whatever. So it's all part of a computerized system that the street lights are all registered on. So it's just calculated based on how much they're expected to be on, and that's how we get charged for it. So overall, the rates are going to be the similar as everybody else pays for electricity. There won't be any difference in that. The one benefit that of us moving forward on the project now is that there is rebates from BC Hydro that are pretty significant that we're going to try to capitalize on, but no specific difference in the rates.
Okay, thank you for that. All right. Councilor Durham, another question?
I just want to ask just one thing further on that to the question you asked, Mr. Mayor. That is, the expectation with LED is they will require much less maintenance and service on average. Is that factored into the expected cost savings of them in that respect? You probably won't have to send a truck out as often to change a bulb or whatever it might be.
Yes, Councilor Durham, through the mayor, it's a much longer lifespan expectancy, and that goes for the ones at Sandwich Common Place too as well. So the maintenance, we're not significant amount of man hours put into replacing lights, or now it's going to be eliminated.
And some carbon footprint issues too, if you're sending a vehicle out.
Correct.
Yes. Thank you very much.
See no more questions? All right, thank you. Let's continue on then.
So that brings us to the presentation of the operating budgets. Mr. Mayor. Thank you. So we'll start with council administration, and that's on page 24 of the financial plan document. The council administration and grants budget is essentially provides for the office of mayor and council and the administrator. So it's a relatively, there's not a lot of complexity. It's predominantly wages and benefits and the cost of running an office. So the budget change from 2015 to 2016 is predominantly wage increments to do with contracted increases. It's a 2.4% change. And there's a small increase in the grants budget. Again, the council will be deliberating on the overall grants program. It's held at its previous level until that process happens. But there is currently, we have a mechanism whereby the hotel tax goes to Tourism Victoria, so we're recognizing an increase in that funding that will pass on to Tourism Victoria. So that concludes the information I have for you on council administration grants, if there are any questions on that.
Thank Thank you. Just
Councilor Wright,
briefly,
go ahead.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just through you back to Director Cheney. Just for clarification, the 12.07 FTE, can you just give me an indication who that refers to beyond, for example, our CAO? And secretarial staff, I understand.
Yes, through the mayor, that includes all of council, and then it would be the administration staff,
Okay.
so we can't choose
Would we
FTEs.
be considered as an FTE even though we are,
You're remunerated through the municipality, so we count you as a body.
okay, thank you.
You're an FTE.
Got there. Thank you.
The next section is corporate services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A brief overview for the corporate services budget, which begins on page 25 of your financial plan documents. The corporate services department is comprised of 4 different divisions. The human resources area, whose role is to provide a full range of support for employees throughout their life cycle with SANET. Recruitment selection, learning development, recognition, health and wellness, succession planning, as well as employee and labor relations. The second area is IT, which provides computer and technology support and resources for 550 employees and 9 different locations. They operate a help desk for the support, conduct training sessions, assess new products, and upgrade existing corporate applications. Communication provides both internal and external communication support, specifically related to the SANET website, the intranet, social media, print publications, and public participation activities. And finally, occupational health and safety provides safety prevention support for all employees and return to work support for those who have been injured. This support is provided in a manner that meets the core program or certificate of recognition standard set by WorkSafe. Our primary clients and customer group is other employees for whom we work hard to provide exemplary service and support. The material change to the corporate services budget is $246,000 or 5%, which reflects already negotiated wage and benefit increases and the full year costing for the communications technician and the assistant human resources manager. 2 key accomplishments that the corporate services team is proud of are firstly a heightened focus on employee wellness. Additional support for the Joint Health and Wellness Committee was provided to promote our view of an overall holistic wellness employee initiative. A health and wellness fair was held in October that showcased 16 wellness and benefits specialists that ranged everywhere from blood pressure to dentists, counselors, financial planning, and recreational activities. More than 185 employees attended and feedback was positive. This wellness fair supplemented the work already being undertaken. 30 employees were referred to healthcare support, which allowed them to successfully continue working or provided them with additional support for a positive transition and return to work. A second initiative was that of the Health and Safety Initiative focused on supporting employees in early and safe return to work, whether that be partial work or alternative duties after a workplace injury. These efforts resulted in an over 50% reduction in the number of days lost after workplace injuries as compared to 2014. Bringing employees back to work as soon as they are ready and able to minimizes psychological and other negative effects that can happen. It also means that the SANET workforce retains access to the knowledge and skills that these employees possess. In 2015, the return to work effort resulted in over 10,500 hours of productive work being completed. In past years, these hours would have seen employees stay home until cleared for work. One of the key initiatives or projects that we will be undertaking in 2016 is the introduction of a social media strategy. We'll be working to consolidate the myriad of social media accounts, focusing in on 2 Facebook accounts, a main SANET one and the continuing one of recreation, and 3 Twitter accounts, a SANET, a recreation, and a fire account. Staff training on best practices and the most effective way to communicate with citizens will be conducted. This strategy to increase public engagement will be further enhanced by the launch of our next generation SANET website in the summer. In terms of resource challenges for 2016, The corporate services team continues, given our current resources, to juggle and meet the increasing legislative requirements and fluctuation demands for services. And in IT, we are focusing on the ongoing care and maintenance of the IT infrastructure to ensure that department requests and service levels can be met while supporting the large number of key replacement and upgrade projects that are currently underway. Mr. Mayor, that's the end of my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from council? The Director of Corporate Services. Councilor Worthington, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a very general question. I think it's impressive that the carbon footprint has gone down 5%. How is that measured? And do we go back to 207 to base it on, or is it every year we go back to the year before? Who measures it? Help me.
Mark?
This Councilor Worthington, through the Mayor, that's part of our inventory that I showed you earlier. This is a breakdown of that inventory, and it's, so I believe 5%, did you mention? So the reduction, the change would be just from general energy consumption of municipal hall, so that's what you see in the quotes for that particular department.
Maybe I could ask another question here. Not that I don't believe the figures, but do we, every 5-10 years, get an outside audit on where we have come, or do we do it in-house? Is it planned to do it in-house, I should say?
Through the Mayor, we do the inventory in-house, and we send it into the province each year as a part of reporting out, but we don't have an independent audit on it. It's for specific